So there's a lot going on in your life at the minute then, Ryan, isn't there? I mean, we're building computers, we're gaming, we're producing music, you've
Yeah.
got the cards. How do you get time for DJing? Because I know you're doing that as well, aren't you?
Um, Basically, I don't DJ as often as I'd like, but yeah, it's just more a case of just planning everything around what I want to do. I mean, with DJing, it's depend if I have a set coming up, I'll make sure I'm all prepared for that. But I do try and like make sure that I space in that preparation time with my family and time to do the other things as well. Because if you focus too much on one thing, the rest of your life can suffer. So I like to very much have that balance and keep busy.
Yeah. And you had a massive gig as well, didn't you? DJing at the Printworks for Ram. That was huge.
Yeah, that was incredible. I've had quite a few quite big gigs over the years, but that was the biggest one recently, and it was awesome. I mean, I was actually in Tenerife last September when I got an email asking if I wanted to play, and I snapped up the opportunity. It was so cool. I got to meet some musical heroes there. Like sitting in the green room chatting away to Mob Tactics and Leveler was just insane.
Great stuff. Take me through the day then. Obviously, are you prepared for playing there? Just anybody listening has obviously got big gigs like this to see if there's anything different they're doing. You wake up in the morning, you're ready. Have you planned and prepared everything before then, or is it all on the day?
I've normally, well, I definitely would have my USB sticks sorted out really quite in advance. Obviously, adding any extra tracks I want to play that I either make or get sent through. And yeah, there was it's quite a nerve-wracking day. We had to wake up at 8 because driving all the way down to London and then getting across London on the tube because it's quite central in London, especially because whenever we go down to London, whenever I'm playing down there or something, we park up at Cockfosters and get the tube in. It's the best way because trying to drive through London's a nightmare.
No, don't ever drive in London.
No,
I don't know why people do it. I really don't. You can get a
no, not at
train
all.
from here in the Midlands. It takes 1 hour, and then you're just on the tube. So I can get to any club in London quicker than I can probably actually get into Birmingham Centre if I'm driving.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
uh,
it's just
it's
it's
phenomenal.
the same with us. It's the same with us. It's 2.5 hours on. Well, it's about 2 hours on the train. That's about 2 hours to drive, but then you got to factor in parking and tube and everything. But yeah, um, it's just I'd much rather make sure I have plenty of time, not rush myself and everything like that. It's just not worth the hassle.
So you're not like me then. I'm usually forgetting my USB stick needs sorting, and I'm doing it the night before, and I'm up to like 6 a.m. the night before the gig actually sorting my stick. You've got it done way in advance then, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I don't plan out my sets from start to finish. Like I'll normally have a few. I'll test out a lot of different mixes beforehand, like see which tracks go well together, see what I can do, sort of gauge general outline. But most of the time, when I'm actually behind the decks, I forget my outline and I will just mix whatever I want and just remember the doubles that work well, remember the blends that work well, and just go like that. I honestly find that when you fully prepared a DJ set, like from start to finish, it doesn't always go the way you want, especially if you've planned it, but the crowd aren't really feeling it, and then you carry on with it and you start losing the crowd. It's just not worth it. I much rather play to the crowd and just just go with the flow of it.
Yeah. I've debated this a lot because if you look at a lot of the top acts in drum and bass, they have all fully planned out their set for the majority of them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And you can tell by the technicality of, the drops they're doing. I mean, Andy C definitely isn't doing all of those double drops on the fly. He's practiced some of them. Do you know what I mean? That's how he's so good. So it's like, is this a case for, okay, if you're going to plan the whole thing out, you can probably, if you're top talent, because people are just going to be there for your name. But when it comes to
mm,
smaller talent like me or you, it's better to kind of read the crowd, because I've never ever planned a full set. I know I have about 4 to 5 tunes I may start with, and then I'll have a folder of tunes that at some point I'm going to play, and then
yeah,
everything else is just kind of, okay, let's see how it's going to go from there.
yeah. Absolutely. I mean, I find that like making a playlist is very important because if you don't have a playlist of tracks that are properly tagged, properly beat gridded and stuff like that, you can really quite struggle on the fly thinking because you get was it choice paralysis where you've got, especially when you're DJing and suddenly you're thinking, oh, what track do I bring in next? And you've got a folder of 1,000 and they're not sorted out or anything like that. You're like, oh, I don't know what to play next. Panicking. But
One of the big things
having a
like that,
playlist,
definitely.
yeah, when you've got a playlist of a couple of hundred tracks and stuff, and you just go through practicing, going through all of them, just having a mix through your tracks beforehand, and then just seeing what works well together, what doesn't work so well together, what kind of is a good energy switcher, that kind of thing. It very much helps. So when you actually go and do the set, you've got that knowledge of what works well together. Oh, I definitely want to play this. Oh, maybe the crowd isn't feeling this track, like that kind of track. I'm going to play this track instead. And then if you've got that preparation sorted,
Yeah.
it's going to be a much better time behind the decks.
Yeah, I found that I suffered with that for quite a few years. It was one of the main reasons was due to not having too many gigs. So when that happens, you've got a folder of music that's mounting up and it's
Yeah,
mounting up, and then you finally get a gig and you take too much music to the gig. And what I found is when I was going out with less music, my sets were better straight away. Even if I'd not practiced, they were just a lot better, and I could
yeah.
move and flow with the music just a little bit easier. Because, like you said, it becomes a bit overwhelming, don't you, if you're taking out 300-400 tracks on a USB, especially new.
Exactly. And yeah, I like taking out a lot of new tracks because one thing I found, because I used to have a weekly show on Rough Tempo, and one thing I found was that if I wasn't updating my USB regularly, I'd just keep going back to the same old tracks time and time again. So I like to have a sort of clean out of the USB and then reevaluate playlists and stuff like that. I think that's very important.
You've got to mix the set regular as well, can't you? So if you are having few and far between gigs and you're suffering with this, make sure you're doing an hour set at home, get a radio show somewhere, do a live stream, just to make sure you are playing that music and you feel what you feel. It's a
Exactly.
lot different, isn't it?
Yeah, and especially if you record a good mix at home, it's really good promotion stuff. I used to like really. I don't have a proper setup at the moment. It's all in the garage, but I do have a small pair of decks that I used to practice here and there. But I find it very, very important to just keep your hand in, because it's like any skill. If you don't keep it sharp, you'll lose it.
Do you like to put a lot of your own productions in your sets? And what would you say the percentage is as opposed to other artists?
It's tough to say really. I do like putting a lot of my own music in, but I feel like it has to fit the vibe. Obviously, I've got quite an eclectic sort of production style. If I can't exactly mix in some like ambient techno into my sets, but I do like putting a lot of the harder stuff in. Again, it kind of really depends on the set and depends on what music I've made that I'm feeling recently. But yeah, I do tend to put quite a few of my own tracks in.
Like we said earlier, your music does stand out. It can't be classed in a subgenre, and there's few artists out there like that. So when you're doing your sets and you're putting your tracks in there, what other artists are kind of go to that generally fit with your tracks? Because they are very individual sounding. There's nothing else like it in drum and bass, I feel, at the moment with what you're doing.
I like a lot of the more technical artists, people like Bunshin, people like Zatis, Transformer, Kais, and Flow, just that hitting that sort of line between creativity and heaviness, really. I tend to just put in a lot of tracks that I'm feeling, regardless of the subgenre, because there's often going to be those sort of intermediary or interstitial tracks that you can use to blend between the various styles, which is great. But yeah, I really like the real hard technical stuff. Like I say, people like Bunshin.
What's up everyone, Lee UHF here, the host of DNB Wraps. Thank you for watching our videos. If you like what you're hearing and seeing on the channel, please make sure you're subscribing to it. Please make sure you thumbs up the videos, and more importantly, let's get some comments going as well. It really helps the channel, and in order for us to provide this content to you, we do need the channel to grow. So we can't do this without your help. Hope you enjoy the video. Speak to you soon.